Hey, what's up guys? So this video I'm going to discuss and I'm going to show you guys about the Ford Performance lowering spring. So we're going to start off the video. I took measurements before doing the lowering and I did it in my garage floor. So the way I usually do it, I just set the tape measure on the floor and I go up to the leading edge of the fender, usually dead center between the wheel center caps. So the measurements before we did the lowering, the front measured 27.25 inches in height and the rear measured 27.8125 in height. Now, Ford Performance is saying that it's going to lower the car 20 millimeters. I actually got a little bit less. It lowered the car about a half inch. 20 millimeters is about 7/8 of an inch. So after the lowering, we're now the ride height in the front is 26 3/4 and in the rear is 27.25. Now, something I want to talk about, here's some photos of the springs. The rear spring on the GT350R, the Ford Performance spring, is considered a dual rate. So according to what I've read online, it has a softer rate, which is about 565, and then it goes up as you load up the car up to 900 plus. Now the factory OEM spring, that's about 900 plus, 916 pounds. That's a linear rate spring, and then the front is 240. So the Ford Performance springs in the front are 250. In the rear, they start at 565 and then they go up. So that's really what's going to make the difference between the ride quality and the way this car feels. And I'll talk more about it when we get the car in the ground. We'll go for a road test. I'll show you guys the visual. After the car's been dropped, we did the alignment and we're going to go for a ride right now. So before I do that, I just want to show you guys a quick tip on setting up the Camber caster plates. When you're doing it statically, you can take some measurements with a dial caliper and you're almost 90% of the time, you're gonna get your front camber almost spot on perfect if you follow this method. So when the car is loaded on the ground, after you did your installation, you drove it back and forth or took it around the block, I usually like to take a measurement of the before. And I usually will go from the top of the shock piston right to here. And I'm just gonna show you right now. So this is measuring at 0.8415. So when I put the new springs in the car, I'm going to adjust the camber and caster plate to 0.75. So that should dial in at least negative 1.6, 1.8 degrees camber based on the recent alignment specs that I had on this car. I kind of know where the camber is now. I think it's like -1. So just like this, you loosen up the bolts, you can statically adjust or ballpark your camber based off this point like I just showed you. So we're gonna push this in and we're gonna measure 0.75 from here to here. All right guys, let's get out of the car and I'm gonna show you guys the stance with the Ford Performance lowering springs on the Shelby GT350R. So you guys can see the car looks awesome. It's not slammed, but that half inch of a drop made a significant difference. I'll show you guys up here. I could probably get 2 fingers into the front and in the back, about the same situation. So you can see it there. That's the ride height with the Ford Performance magnetic ride control lowering springs. Now, I didn't rip off the front bumper yet, but I will show you it's pretty damn tight under there. I mean, I could get my this type of sneaker under there, no problem, but my top of my shoe, top of my sneaker is directly underneath the front bumper. But you can see it there. It looks freaking cool as hell. And I really think that that little bit of a drop significantly helped with the aesthetics of this car. There's just something that bothered me all along was I just felt it looked like it was just sitting a little bit too high. And I lowered all my S550 Mustangs from my GT Performance pack to the red GT350. This was the only car that have actually kept this long without doing any lowering. But I was a little skeptical about what I was gonna do, if I was gonna do the springs or if I was gonna keep the car. But I'm gonna tell you right now, by changing out the tires and changing out the springs, it completely transformed this car for the street. Now, I do miss the Cup 2 tires as far as the quick reactivity in the steering. But for the time being, while I'm in New York, while I'm dealing with some of the horrible roads that we drive on, I'm just gonna keep the car as is and kind of enjoy it as is on the street. And you know, once we get out of the area, if I still have this car, then I'm probably gonna put the Cup 2s back on. But I just wanna show you guys right there. So looks really cool. So let me get the camera set up and we'll go for a little ride on one of my favorite twisty roads right up here. All right guys, so I'm just gonna go on a little blast on one of my favorite roads up here, a little north of where I live. Also, how do you set your cars up? Post it below. I usually set the car up in sport mode, and then I usually adjust the steering to comfort. It just makes it a little bit quicker and lighter. I don't really like sport steering in this car because the car is so big and you have so much of a huge contact patch. I like to just be in comfort mode. Okay, so So the one thing that I really noticed with the Ford Performance lowering springs is really the comfort and the flatness of the back of the car now, where it used to get really choppy and bouncy. Now it's staying a hell of a lot flatter, and it's just much more compliant on some of the irregularities of the roads of where I have to drive this car. Otherwise, it was just getting to the point where I just wasn't driving the car because it was too uncomfortable to hit a lot of these roads. But the car feels great. I'm having a blast. Now, it's about 42 degrees. It's a little chilly this morning. And, you know, even though I am on the 4S tires, I'm not going to go crazy pushing the car. But like I said, the only thing that I do miss so far is the little bit of reactivity and the quickness of the Cup 2 tires. But, you know, that only comes at 1% of the time I could enjoy it versus me, you know, hating the car because those tires are so damn stiff and rough. But now the car's a blast. It's a nice fall day, fall morning, and I just wanted to take this car out. I'm going to be taking out the other cars in a little bit as well, exercise those. But yeah, the cornering is flat, the turn is better. Now, a lot of guys are going to be asking about my alignment specs, and if you watched in the video, I showed you guys a quick tip on how I set up the Ford Performance caster camber plates, and we just reset the toe yesterday, and the front camber is exactly -1.8. I have camber in the rear of -1. My front toe, I have a little bit of toe in. I change it from 0 toe, and in the rear, my rear toe is 0.30 total toe, so which is the factory spec that they recommend for the 350 and the 350R according to the owner's manual. And my caster angle in the front is 7.3 degrees positive. So it feels absolutely awesome. It's no tram lining. There's no uneasiness with the car at all. The car feels absolutely great. So I'm just gonna loop this back around because over here, this road turns into a gravel road with all the horses. We definitely don't want to go on that. Now, the front bumper on the 350R, it does sit lower than a standard 350. So if you're going over speed bumps, you have to go very, very slow or put the car in sport or track mode just to firm up the magnetic ride control a little bit. But you still have to go slow. You got to be careful. Otherwise, you are going to trash the leading edge of the front spoiler. But the cornering is so flat, it feels incredible. Honestly, I think the car feels better with these springs, you know, driving through roads like this than with the factory springs, because the factory rear was so stiff and choppy that I used to actually kick out and lose traction quite often, and it used to make me a little nervous, especially when the temperatures were less than ideal. So the Pilot Sport 4S has a little bit more breakaway in the tire than the Cup 2s. The Cup 2s will just snap and you'll just lose it. But no, they're absolutely awesome. So I highly recommend it. If anybody out there has got a 350 or a 350R and you really want to, you know, make the car more enjoyable on the street, or you're complaining about ride quality, I'll tell you right now, the Ford Performance, I think it's the part number 5300W, posted in the video description as well. Huge difference. It was $279 from CJ Pony Parts, free shipping, and an hour and a half of labor. And CJ Pony Parts, Bill, he does some awesome DIY install videos. So if you guys plan on doing it yourself, it's really, really easy to do. Otherwise, you can just bring it to any, you know, mechanical shop or performance shop, and they can knock this out in, you know, under 2 hours for you. But other than that, I'm just enjoying the car right now. I am actually have a newfound love for this car. I'm driving it almost every other day. Ever since I did the tires and the lowering springs, and it's just absolutely phenomenal. It's putting a smile on my face, and the fall driving is my favorite time of the year to drive, and on roads like this is what it's all about. So hope you guys really enjoyed this video. You got some feedback and info if you guys want to make a decision on lowering your Shelby GT350 or 350R. But anybody's got questions or comments, post them below, contact me direct. I will see you guys on another Shelby video soon. Take care, guys.